This is Critical Commentary with Maurice Williams. Today we'll be covering the NBA scandal and some ICE agitators. Blacks, Hispanics, and whites can't read. Why you think I started a podcast? It's a fucking racist thing with you niggas, and that's why I'm coming at you niggas next. They love to talk about black violence. Have you heard of white violence? White people commit violent crime at 3 times the rate of Asians. When is Nick Fuentes gonna talk about white violence? Everybody's arguing about their 2 genders. I sat next to a hermaphrodite in math class. Am I allowed to talk about the Jews? If she wanted, we could do it in the morning. Yawning, letting my eyes stretch. Baby, I ain't a novice. I've been a dog. She FaceTime, but I never call. So last week it came out that Chauncey Billups, the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and Terry Rozier, the Miami Heat's point guard, were involved in a betting scandal that involved the mafia. It's alleged that Rozier was taking himself out of games so that he wouldn't meet the betting line, so he would go under on the betting line. And it was also alleged that Chauncey Billups was letting people know who would play, that certain players may not be playing large amounts of minutes. So as you can see, letting certain people know this information gave them an advantage on the bets. So this came out and the federal government investigated it. So yesterday, Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, finally addressed the situation. And he said that the situation made him sick to his stomach. Obviously, he's upset about it because it's hurting the NBA brand. It's messing with the sponsors. It's also messing with the product on the court. So the NBA has been growing. In recent years, they started allowing sponsors to put their names on the jerseys. They also started to partner with Vegas and other gambling entities like Sportsbet, FanDuel, etc. And these added partnerships added more revenue for the game. So they already had regular commercials, and then having the companies put their logos and their name on the jerseys and on the court allowed the NBA to bring in more revenue. And then NBA is also taking money from its partnerships with these different betting institutions. So the NBA, because all of sports now allow betting, won't be able to take themselves out of the gambling world. So it's putting the NBA and Adam Silver in a precarious situation. So the way that Adam Silver is trying to address this situation is he sent out a memo to all 31 teams, and that memo restated policies and procedures that the coaches and players are supposed to go through to let the public know information, since one of the problems with this scandal was people were finding out information too early and sometimes too late. So to address that, one of the particulars in the memo states that all teams must say whether a player will be injured or if they won't be playing in the game because of illness or other medical information. They have to provide that information by 5 p.m. This way, everybody's on the same playing field in the public, and everybody gets this information ahead of time. Because again, in one situation with the scandal that's out, people were finding out information, game time decisions, but the coaches already knew that information. So between 5 and let's say there's a game at 9, or let's say there's a game at 8 o'clock, the coaches already knew the information, but if they weren't providing that information at 5 o'clock, like the guidelines are now saying, and were already saying that they were supposed to do, it was giving people like a 3-hour window to get insider information out. So the NBA is just trying to close that up. Because the NBA can't get away from betting, and because the NBA doesn't have the same power as the federal government, Silver has asked the teams to help out with the betting scandal, but he's also hoping that the federal government continues to investigate, because they have the subpoena power and they have the ability to look at more records and they have more resources, and they would offer a more severe penalty than the NBA. So the NBA can ban you and the NBA can prevent you from getting certain accolades, but I'm not sure how the bargaining agreement is in terms of like the players who already have signed contracts. I'm not sure how much money they get if they get in trouble. Also, if you aren't allowed to go into the Hall of Fame, but you're able to get money, that wouldn't prevent some people who are looking to get money. They still might, knowing if they got caught, they couldn't go to the Hall of Fame, they might still gamble. But if the federal government gets involved and they believe they'll be serving jail time, Silver and other people are hoping that that punishment is a deterrent to stop future players and coaches from dabbling in this sort of behavior. Moving on to ICE, which is a hot topic right now. Basically, Donald Trump has ordered that ICE remove immigrants who came illegally because they're breaking the law. Now, ironically, President Barack Obama also did this, and at one point he was labeled the deporter in chief. The only difference about this situation is that since Donald Trump is on the right and he's a conservative, you have liberals posting videos online and you have the media covering what ICE agents are doing. They did this under Obama, but it didn't get as much coverage because social media, a lot of social media users are liberal minded, and the media is also biased and slants toward the liberal ideologies and liberal perspectives. So again, it's the same behavior, but there's more outcry from certain groups of people, so you see it more. But then also, the Trump administration does troll a lot, so they've also been posting videos kind of amping up the rhetoric and kind of showing people showing people more force from the federal government, whether it's sending in National Guard to reduce crime or sending ICE agents out to deport people. So there was one incident in California that actually happened in July, but the person was finally found and arrested. I'll play that for you guys.
Hey, John, you may recall there was a pretty notable immigration raid on a pot farm here in Camarillo earlier this summer. Some pretty disturbing viral video out of that. Suspects throwing rocks and objects at federal agents' cars as they exited their immigration raid that included hundreds of arrests. That was back in July. Well, this morning, we were exclusively on hand in a pre-dawn sting as HSI arrested a guy in a dark alleyway. They say Issei Carrillo is seen in that viral video throwing rocks at federal cars. Carrillo is allegedly part of an anti-ICE activist group that intentionally blocked the federal agent cars on the pot farm and then ambushed the agents on the way out. HSI says at least 4 vehicles were damaged in that attack, and a federal contractor was injured after a rock and shards of glass struck their hand.
So as you can see, in this situation, the agitators were actually part of an organized group, and they found one of the agitators. So you have, on one end, you have illegal immigrants and liberals who are saying it's okay for the non-violent illegal immigrants to stay. And then you have the conservative and Republicans saying that even if they aren't committing a violent crime, they've committed a crime by entering illegally. And many people are saying that some of the reasons we're having issues with welfare, issues with the budget, is because the federal government is doing things to help take care of these illegals who they pay some taxes, but they don't pay income taxes, etc., because they're illegals. So there's a lot of chaos going on right now between the two sides, where the cities, which are more liberal, are not respecting and not helping the federal government. So places like Chicago and California, the local municipal law enforcement has been told by the mayors and sometimes the governors to not assist the federal agents. And sometimes they even have been standoffs between protesters who are more pro-illegal. They're not pro-illegal immigration per se, but the people who are already here, they want them to stay. So it's a very tumultuous time. And there's even been talk that the cartel, seeing the chaos that's going on, the cartel has reached out to different people, different organizations such as Antifa and some of these local pro-immigration groups to get information on ICE agents, because it's alleged that the cartel is actually interested in executing or harming some of the agents. So this is a big problem because we don't want federal agents to get harmed doing their job. And we also don't want armed clashes between civilians and federal law enforcement. So the only thing that I can say to move forward that would help these things is, again, there should be more dialogue. The people who lost the election have to respect the rule of law. If your side didn't win and there's a crackdown on illegal immigration, you have to use the power of voting to get the change you want. But you can't go out and throw rocks and throw things at law enforcement. We will continue to update you guys on the ICE raids and ICE updates as more information comes out. This is a clip. Well, so this girl was in a clip that we responded to earlier a couple weeks ago. She was at a meeting with Bibi Netanyahu and some other influencers. So she's a Christian influencer. And when I saw the clip of her last time, I said that she was being influenced by Netanyahu, because right after the meeting, she came out saying some Israel talking points. So I'm about to check out a clip right now and see what she's talking about. I'm not sure her name, but she's called That Opinionated Girl on Instagram.
people speak about subjects that they have absolutely no idea about will never not be mind-boggling to me, because how are you so comfortable doing that? Somebody messaged me on my Instagram DM saying that I was in the wrong for supporting Israel because Israel kills kids. Go figure. You guys aren't even creative with your blood Bible at this point. So I was trying to explain to him that, number one, this is blatantly false, right? Israel does everything in their ability to minimize civilian casualties, whether it's adults or children. Obviously, there are going to be some when you're fighting in a modern urban combat zone, which is something that has happened in each and every single one of those types of war. Actually, Israel has the lowest percentage. John Spencer does an absolutely excellent job breaking this down. He is a leading expert when it comes to urban combat, but people don't understand this, right? They want to sit there and they expect Israel to fight this war in a very small area with absolutely zero civilian casualties, despite the fact you have Hamas committing actual war crimes like dressing as civilians, utilizing hospitals and schools to fight from 200 miles worth of terrorist tunnels underneath all of the civilian infrastructure, right? But somehow it's all on Israel, despite the fact that they were the ones who had the war waged against them. So I pointed this out to him, and then I also explained how it was Hamas and PFLP and Islamic Jihad and the Gazan civilians themselves who broke into Israel and went out of their way to specifically target children, right? This wasn't a civilian casualty. This wasn't an accident. They specifically broke into civilian homes, saw children, and then decided to either one, murder them, or two, take them hostage. I gave the specific example of the Bebos babies because I feel like it's one of the more well-known cases, and he didn't know it. He didn't know it. He tried to send me an article saying that Israel actually went back on this, and then he sent something about the beheaded babies, which, by the way, Israel never claimed that. So for people to be sitting there trying to talk about two different things, it just goes to show that he didn't know what I was talking about. He had never heard of the Bebas family before because he's never done his actual research. He had this thought in his head of Israel bad, and then he just looked at things that confirmed that thought to him. He didn't care about any of the Israeli babies who were slaughtered on that day. He didn't care about any of the Israeli children who were horrifically abused, like Yagil Yaakov, who was taken hostage. They're pulling on his hair after his father had just been murdered, screaming at him, forcing him to watch October 7th footage, branding his leg on the motorcycle, and this dude doesn't know about any of it. And there are so many of them like that, and it's just so, I cannot comprehend how you couldn't even bother to do the bare minimum level of research when it comes to people dying. This is not a sports team, guys. You have to know what the hell you're talking about if you're going to be speaking on it.
Okay, so that was a long clip, guys, and there's a bunch of things I want to talk about because we've discussed before some of the history between the Palestinians, the Ashkenazi Jews, the Mizrahi Jews, etc. So what she was saying is that she believes that people are not being considerate about the Jews who are dying and the Israelis who are dying. Many innocent Israelis are being killed. So to discuss this situation, I just want to break up some of the groups. We have Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. I never hear anybody talking about being pro-Hamas. They just say they're pro-Gazans because Gazans are the people from that region who live there. Then you have people who talk about Jews in a negative way. And a lot of times, in my perspective, or my belief is that when they say Jews, what they're talking about is the Israeli government, not Jews kind of insinuate you're talking about Jewish people. So most Jewish people are all Jewish people. So I want to differentiate that for you guys to say this. Hamas is a terrorist organization. They're a problem. Israel's government, Netanyahu, is under investigation for fraud and various other things. The world considers him a war criminal, and he's the leader of the Israeli government. So what you have is to me, two bad groups in terms of the Hamas, which at one point was representing the government of Gaza, and then the Israeli government representing the Israeli people, and some people say Jewish people. So those two groups are bad. And then when you start talking about the loss of life, well, it's mostly Gazans who are innocent who are losing their lives. It's mostly Israeli citizens who I believe, again, are innocent who are losing their lives. But to go further into this, she was insinuating that it's Hamas and Gazan people going into Israel to kill innocent Israelis. So this is a complicated situation because the people from Gaza and Hamas feel like they were moved from their native land by Israelis, which are not going to say predominantly, but many people who are Jewish, but were from Europe. So again, this situation is tricky because I do think some of these people who are, not some, but many of the Jewish people did have ties to this land at some point, and they're like returning because the Muslim extremists killed off Jews, they killed off Christians, and they forced other people to convert. So there was a displacement of Jewish people. So those Jewish people are trying to come back. The problem that we have is the Jewish people who are coming back are coming to a hostile Islamic state. So you have Jewish people rightfully saying that there's problems with Islamic terrorists, but they're wrong in saying that the people of Gaza and the Muslim people are all against them. The people who are in the Middle East are under they're under not just terrorist regimes, but they're under oppressive regimes. So what you have is you have people who aren't able to really speak their minds themselves. So we don't really know how the people feel, because the people either have to agree with the Islamic terrorists and the extreme Islamic governments, or they'll kill the people. So what I would just like to push for is more dialogue amongst the citizens, for people to see that maybe it is very possible for the Jews and the Muslims to get along if it were up to the people. And what it seems like more of the problem is just that the power structures, you have terrorists and Islamic extremists who have money, who are most likely doing nefarious things. You have them trying to keep their power, and then you have Netanyahu, another power-struck leader, who, instead of stepping out of office, or not stepping out of office, the polls are saying that the majority of Israelis don't really want him in office. So once these wars end and they allowed to vote, it's highly likely that he would be removed from office because the people won't vote for him. So it seems like, to me, what he's doing is he looks for any reason for there to be a conflict. So anything that could be a potential issue, he states, oh, if we don't take care of this, they're going to kill the Israelis. Oh, if we don't take care of this, they're going to kill Israelis. Oh, if we don't take care of this, America's going to lose certain benefits that they have been working with us. Oh, if we don't deal with the Muslim extremists, then Europe won't be able to get the resources and things as far as oil and natural gas. So I just see him as a person who doesn't want to lose power and is doing everything he can to keep conflicts going, because that's the way that'll keep him in office. So my last point about this young lady, which I don't know her name, my last point to her would be, it does still seem like she has a pro-Israeli narrative, because she's defending Israel, but I haven't heard her defend like any of the Arabs, Muslims, etc. So I would just like her to maybe see or start to open her eyes and do research like she wants others to do. Do research into the people who are native to that land and maybe try to understand why some of them are bothered. And not to go off on a tangent, but now I'm remembering she also spoke about the West Bank. So she was trying to say that why can't Israeli people settle in the West Bank? Well, America, which is Israel's greatest ally, our foreign policy has actually been to stay away from the West Bank, and we have not promoted Jews settling on the West Bank, because they already have Gazans, etc., living on that land. So they're not the Jewish people who come in are not legally supposed to even occupy that. And that's the American government stance. Plus, there've been numerous videos showing they'll have Israeli settlers come and the land's occupied, and they'll attack the people who own the land. So in terms of terrorist acts, I would consider somebody coming to your home and violently attacking you, shooting you, killing people, a terrorist attack. So both sides, whether it's Ashkenazi Israeli Jews or Gazans and Muslims, both sides are waging war on one another in isolated incidents. So both sides can claim that the reason that they're committing violence is in self-defense of themselves. So I just think that it's a tough situation. I know Trump has tried, and the ceasefire was broken recently when Israel killed 100 people. They said they killed 100 people because Hamas has not given them one of the hostages who's already dead. So that's kind of illogical. I mean, you're supposed to follow the agreement, but you wouldn't kill 100 people because somebody didn't give you the body of someone that's already died, when you're trying to, you've already negotiated the peace treaty, but you're trying to get other phases through. You're trying to have Hamas give up power. You're trying to have Hamas demilitarized. So just in my opinion, it's just going to show that Israel is not as willing to negotiate in good faith as much as they should. And same for Hamas. Again, there's been a few videos coming out of them killing not even Israelis, but they've been killing Gazan citizens that they think helped Israel. So again, you just have two groups that are up to no good and doing nefarious things. And it's unfortunate for the people in the Middle East, Jewish and Muslim as well. There's another clip that I look into. This we get a few from the Fuentes updates page. I guess Nick has an X, but for some reason he doesn't post clips, I guess. So this Fuentes updates thing posts clips. I haven't seen this. Is 1 minute 40 seconds, so it's not too long, guys. The quote is, "I'm trying to get people into this idea that is not just about taking away, subtracting, and being anti and against, but it's about saying what we are for." Okay, so this is his vision for America. Oh, he's talking to Alex Jones on InfoWars. So I'll check that out for you guys and let you know my thoughts.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of my positive vision, I like to talk to the younger people to watch my show and say, what actually do you know how to do? Like, if we want to transform and become the American elite, we have to actually enter into the institutions and gain the institutional know-how. I know a lot of people watch my show. They could tell me the history of the Middle East and how Israel got us into every war and this and that and the other. It's like, but do you know about how government works? Do you know about how society works? Do you know the first thing about critical minerals, about the geopolitical landscape? Because if we want to create this cadre, this political cadre that is going to run the next regime or be the new elite, you're going to need to know a little bit more than that. And so I'm trying to get people into this idea that it's not just about taking away and subtracting and being anti and against, but it's about saying, what are we for? And what I'm for is we want America to produce things again. We want a tariff schedule. We want subsidies. We want to decouple from China. We want to make stuff in America. And we want Latin America, the Western Hemisphere, to be our periphery. We want to dominate the landscape here. And I think that if we can get things straightened out at home, and that means law and order, that means safe public transit, that means cities that are livable, that are prosperous. It means that we have industry. It means that we have control over the borders. We're going to have to remigrate a lot of these problematic people that have come here in the past 20 years. If we can get things settled at home and produce things and be safe and be, have kind of a predictable society again, then we could project power abroad and we can keep our civilization. That's kind of the rough sketch. By the way.
Okay, so I am gonna have to look into Nick's policies because I've seen Nick's clips and I'm new to some of his longer takes where he explains himself. So the clips are crazy to me. He sounds racist, but as I watched more of the clip, longer videos, it was lots of points that we agreed on. Still points we disagreed on, but lots of points we agreed on. Now I got a little excited when I seen this, guys, because he started talking about politics and understanding government, which is something that I studied in school and am interested in. And then I'm kind of seeing from him, it seems like he has maybe political ambitions. So what I'm seeing is like, I knew him as the outsider. I knew of him talking about what was wrong. He was talking about subtracting because he was talking about subtracting blacks. Or not talking about subtracting them, but making jokes about it. He definitely talked about subtracting migrants, Hispanic people, etc. Basically non-whites. He talked about it, subtracting non-whites and not just talking about subtracting them, but he would speak about how they couldn't assimilate, which kind of insinuates that maybe since they can't assimilate, we'll have to figure out what to do with them. And he just mentioned possibly remigrating certain groups of people who are committing problems. But the reason why I got excited when I started seeing him talk about his political ambitions, I kind of see a potential shift happening from him where it's like, okay, I got known and I was telling people about what was wrong and I was saying who we were against and who we don't like. But now he's in some ways saying he's trying to transform and make America like a better place. And there are certain ideas that he has that he thinks could help the society. Well, he's a smart guy and I do think he has some ideas that probably could help. So I want to dig into some of the things that maybe his platform or some of the changes that he wants to make or reforms that he wants to implement. I want to look into this and see what he's talking about. But I will say this, no matter what he says, I would not forget everything he said in the past. I do feel that if he is changing and if he is trying to be more inclusive and if he is trying to incorporate everybody, or not incorporate everybody, but incorporate more people, that's a good thing. And I would want him to use his intelligence for good. But we're not going to be fooled, at least I'm not, and I'm not going to forget like who he is and where he started, right? So I still think that the things that he has said in the past, people can change, but I don't think they changed this quickly, right? Just prior to Charlie Kirk being killed, he was still saying certain things about Jewish people, certain things about blacks, etc. So this called critical commentary. I try to take a nuanced approach and I try to watch everything. I see his intelligence. I see the good that he may be about to try to bring. And I'm here for that, but I don't want people to forget about some of the things that he said, because with all politicians, if he's about to step into politics, with all politicians, we have to watch it and see what are they saying that they really believe in and what are they really going to do versus what they say they're going to do, but they have a reason for doing it that's not positive, that's somewhat nefarious. But good luck with what you're doing, Nick. You already have America First as the name of your show. So Trump already had that too as a slogan. But you do have like some branding and things. So I do hope that if you get I hope that they allow you on these platforms so that you can share your ideas. I'm for more ideas and more speech. I'm for freedom of speech. So I will hope these platforms, these social media platforms that had you banned, including YouTube, I hope they would let you on, share your ideas, and you just compete against the other politicians, and let's see how your ideas stack up to the rest of the public. All right, we have some comments. Let's see which ones. I'll do a few today, guys. We have one from a Nick Fuentes reaction that I did. It's from Terra 2692. This dude is a fucking dumbass. Yes, they talking about me. Did he really just say blacks have their own colleges like we're being rebellious to African Americans, as if blacks didn't create their own schools because they weren't allowed in white colleges? He wasn't talking about me. That's what I said about Nick, and that's what the commenter said. I agree with you, bro. Terra 262. Feel free to reach out to me on TikTok, Maurice Williams, CCTV on TikTok, and then X is still Lil Mo Music. I'll see if I can change the name. I don't know if X will allow me to do it. And then we have, if you check at the end of every episode, we have all the critical commentary social medias. I believe they're all critical commentary CCTV. Is that correct? The producer doesn't know, but I think that's right. Just check the the bio in our YouTube, and we have those. We have another comment about Nick. This is Try Again 461. Okay, bro got all mad like a female. I definitely think this is about me, but let me keep reading. We need black men to stand up and not play the "what about white people" game. Okay, black Americans fell for the okie doke 70 years ago. No more individual thinking and too busy keeping it real, so we stay at the bottom. I don't think I got mad like a female, but I do think that blacks have voted for Democrats solely because of what they did with civil rights, and I think that the Democrats offer a lot of positive things or policies, so I can understand why some black people would support them. But me being a black person, I know that black people have a lot of conservative values, so I do think black people should be more open to hearing the Republican policies. And I believe both groups have, Republicans and Democrats have good policies and bad policies. That's why I wish Elon would have backed a third party, because I think America could be stronger if a political party would take some of the good ideas and good policies from the Democrats and some of the good ideas and policies from the conservative Republicans and put it together to make a stronger, more productive America. I think that's what people want. We want the best of both sides to be enhanced, and we want some of the insane things that the extremes are saying to not even be a part of the political sphere. That's my take, guys. I'm not sure who else feels that way. If you do feel that way, please let me know in the comments, because of this show, I don't feel like we pander to the left or pander to the right. So I'm very interested. Are many Americans interested in seeing a new party? And if so, please let me know some of the things you'd be interested in hearing or seeing from said party. And just in terms of some of the politicians that I like Thomas Massey. He's a libertarian, and he's about principles. He wants smaller government. He wants America to stick to the documents and the laws and ideology of the founders, and I want that, except for things like the 14th Amendment. Then I also like Andrew Yang, right? I think he has good economic policies, and I also think that he has fair social policies. So what I would have liked to see is somebody like Thomas Massey and Andrew Yang run together, because I think what it would do is it would keep America grounded in its foundational beliefs, and it would keep the government small, but it would protect people's civil liberties. But then I think Andrew Yang is bringing a lot of positive things in terms of like economic policies domestically and internationally. Plus, my whole thing with the Democrats and the liberals is this. I'm not big on welfare. I'm not big on some of the social programs, but I think what Andrew Yang is saying is he's saying, because we're in a capitalist society, you're going to have a certain group of people, whether they work or not, who just aren't making as much money as the middle class, who is sometimes in the managerial position. And then, of course, the elites who own things, right? So what Andrew Yang was saying about giving people money, not giving people money, was he doesn't want the people to live on government assistance, and he doesn't want people living off food stamps for generations. But what he was more so saying is that this stipend could just be a little bit of breath, kind of like basically telling people, look, if you work, we'll help you out a little bit. I don't remember exactly what he was saying. I don't remember if he was saying give them $2,000, give them $5,000 seems like a lot. But he might have been saying give them $2,000 or $1,000. All that is, I'm not trying to say that the lower class is like children, but all that is saying is that if you do and you make an effort, the government, we do have money. We all are paying taxes, even the people who are using the government funding. We all pay taxes. So if you do and you put your best foot forward, I believe most Americans, this is my belief, most Americans would be okay with that small stipend, right? The issue is not that there are certain people receiving money. The issue is just that there are people receiving money who don't want to work. And then amongst this group of people that's receiving money, when you look at crime, when you look at violent crime, when you look at murder, etc., it's the group of people who receive the help who are causing a lot of the local problems. So that's really what the problem, I would say, with the lower class is. It's not most people in the lower class, but it's this small group of people in the lower class that are causing problems on a local level. It's right in your face. Whether it's rural America or in the cities, it's still in the rural America local government's face and the people living in rural America's face. This group of people who is not making the best decisions, maybe doesn't have as good impulse control, maybe is not as intelligent. We just got to find a way to get you guys. No, I'm not attacking you, right? We got to find a way for people to see the value that you have, because everyone has a value. So they keep saying some of the kids don't have fathers, or some of the kids don't have the money, they don't have the resources, some of the kids have mental issues. If you don't have a father, if you have mental issues, if you don't have resources, these are things that can be worked on and worked around, right? Like, we got to lead with love, guys. We got to meet some of these problems early on in the youth and let people know, instead of making fun of these people, instead of just talking down about these people, meet them where they at, right? Say, look, you don't want to do this, you don't want to do that. It ain't going to be that way, partner. But if y'all don't want to go to jail, if y'all don't want to spend your life behind bars, there are things you can do where we'll meet you guys halfway in there. I'm not going to say programs, but there are ways, like sentencing wise. So I'll probably get in trouble for this because it's somewhat of a liberal ideology. Violent criminals are going to have to stay in jail, because we can't let people out who may kill somebody. We can't let people out who attempt armed robbery, because next time they may kill somebody. But some of these drug offenses, some of these more petty theft offenses, we might have to work on, like, not sentencing those people as hard, because it's like, okay, if we let you back into society, will you work? If we let you back into society, will you not use as much government resources if we set you up with jobs? So this is the thing I'm thinking. And this is just me talking, guys. You know, I just start shit talking sometimes. We don't want to give the people welfare, because we're saying that you get the welfare whether you work or not. We got to figure out some programs. We got to figure out ways to put these people to work. There are jobs. So maybe we have to figure out ways to transport, get people transported from inner cities to rural areas, or from inner cities to places where they have factory jobs. We have to figure out a way to get people to these jobs and get them hired. I do believe that if instead of just giving people money, we took the time to say, or seasonal jobs, right? We move people out. You got to pay for them either way, whether it's the Section 8 or at the jail cell. You can set up these housing areas. You could pay for their housing, but pay for their housing for them to be somewhere. Maybe it's on the farm. Maybe it's in a factory setting. You can pay for their housing, but for them to be doing something productive in the housing that you're paying for. So a lot of people are saying, well, people don't want to, the reason illegal immigrants come is because people don't want to pick crops. What's wrong with picking crops if you don't have a job, right? I find nothing wrong with the government, instead of giving people food stamp money or giving them Section 8 money to live in the inner city where there's crime. You could have some of these people, you could reduce the amount of people in the inner city committing crime by just having people in the inner city moved out to some of these areas where there's work that can be done in factories, farms, etc. Pay for that. Pay for their move. Pay for them to have the housing seasonally, so that you can have them at least part of the year working. You're not going to necessarily get people who don't work at all to just start working 40-hour jobs, but you could provide them a situation where they have dignity, where they see they're doing something, where people love them and respect them in the community. And we would love and respect them too, because now they're helping the American economy. So that's just an idea that I had off the cuss, guys, of like maybe some of these people in the inner cities, instead of just paying for their housing, pay for them to move to different places so that they can be productive and work. And then they can still come back and still be where they're from, but they don't have to be there all the time, 24/7, loitering, looting, etc. Right? They're there all the time and not doing something. Like they say, when you're young, when the mind is idle, you start doing bad things. If we just kind of help those people with their focus, present them with opportunities to do good, everybody may not think like we think. They might not have thought, oh, if I'm from here and there's work somewhere, I can just go there and work. Just set it up for them, make it real easy, and let them go back to their family so that they don't feel like they moved away. Some people may like this idea, some people may not. It's just a thought I had, guys. I'll read a few more. I saw this one earlier, so the producer don't want me to respond to it because he wants everything organic. So I'll read two that I haven't seen, guys. We have another one to dear Nick Fuentes, dear black people. It's you, sir, VK6 row 1HD2U. Black people make up 3% of the population of West Virginia, but they double the national. I'm definitely about to answer this. Okay, first off, I said that 90% of the population in West Virginia is white. That is true. Now, just talking about the homicide, rape, and welfare, with the 90% being white, they still make up a higher percent. They still have a higher rate of murder, rape, and welfare than the national average. Meaning that even when they have 90% of the people there that are white, because there are other places like Boston and places on the East Coast, they're 90% white and they don't have the problems that West Virginia has. So my point of saying that is that two places that are 90% white could have completely different averages of rape, welfare, and homicide, because being white alone does not make somebody good, make somebody intelligent, make somebody economically prosperous. Nah, this person is trying to be funny and they think they got me, but no, you didn't, bitch. You're saying that the population of black people is only 3%, and you're trying to say that the homicide rate, you're trying to say that because 3% of the people are black, that is why the homicide rate is high in West Virginia. But it's not. Just amongst white people, you need to check Google, you need to check Gronk. Just among white people, there's a higher rate of murder amongst whites in Appalachia than the rest of the country, and whites in white people as well than the rest of the country. So what that is saying is that amongst the group of whites, there's a higher rate of white murder in Appalachia and rural America than in cities. So you're trying to place all of those murders on black people, and that's not true. The white people committing murder, because there are white people committing murder, they're committing the murder in rural America and Appalachia. The white people committing murder aren't committing the murder in New York. They aren't committing the murder in Los Angeles. Basically, white people who are committing murders are not committing murders in these large American cities, because the white people the white people who live in large American cities have the money to live in the cities. They're not the poor whites. I'll have to pull up a chart one time to show you this, but what you have is two things going on. No matter your race, as your income drops, there are more murders. But regardless of your income, or not regardless of your income, but there's also a racial component. So yes, it is true that people of the same economic group, racially there's a difference, meaning black people are committing more murders regardless of how much money they make. But white people, as they go down in wealth, they commit more murder than the whites who are wealthy. So the reason I'm pointing this out to you is that I just want to clarify, and I want you to understand, when I'm talking about the problems in West Virginia, welfare, violent crime, rape, armed robbery, these are not things that are just being done by black people. I'm trying to let you know that there's a higher percentage of white people in West Virginia, Oklahoma, Kentucky, etc. There's a higher percentage than you see in the major American cities. There's a higher percentage of white people committing those type of crimes. So yes, I do understand your point. You're saying that they have 3% of black people there, and those black people are acting negatively. Some of them are, not all of them. But there's a large percentage of whites there, and because there's a large percentage of whites there, and because those are the type of white people who have less impulse, who are less intelligent, who have less money, they're also behaving like they're exhibiting some of the behavior that you would expect to see in the lower class. I'll finish your comment. I kind of went off on you. You are aware that these high population white states, their murders come from? No. So I just answered that point for you. So just consider what I just said. The murders are not coming just from the black people. The murders are coming from whites as well in the South, for example. Everything you are saying is just words. They have no. I'm going to definitely pull up a graph for you, and I'll just have to show you that there are places where the white population is 90-80, but the murder rates are different. There's a group of white people who are less wealthy and also less intelligent, because the standardized test scores by the whites in these areas are lower than the standardized scores of the whites in some of the eastern northeast of America. So what you have again is you have an economic and an intelligence situation where you have poor people who are less intelligent making less wiser decisions. So I just have to disagree with you there. Definitely all the murders, all the rapes, etc. are not coming from blacks. Because to better highlight this for you, if that were the case, my statement would be different, right? If they have 90% white people somewhere and only 3% blacks, there would be no way for it to be higher than the national average, because the nation has 12% black population. So we have all the blacks in the national average. The 3% of blacks in the Appalachia are not causing all of the problems, because we also see black people in major American cities causing problems. What you're trying to insinuate basically is those 3% of blacks in Appalachia, they're causing so much crime that they're causing more crime than the national average, which already includes all of the black people. See, I know you think I'm dumb and I'm low IQ, but if you really thought through what you were saying, you would see it makes no sense on multiple levels. How could 3% of the black population in a small place be causing more problems than the national average, when the national average already takes into account those black people? The only logical answer is that the reason why West Virginia has a higher rate than the national average is because there are white people in that place committing crime at a higher rate than white people in other places. And actually, the white people there are committing crime at a higher rate than what's going on across the nation as a whole. So sorry, buddy, what you're implying is inaccurate. And I'll read one last comment. This is from Faye1893. This is from Nick Fuentes, is very suspicious of Erica Kirk. Then you're stupid. Again, I'm guessing this is about me. If you think the two met like most people do, then you're stupid or naive. It was an arranged marriage. Well, I mean, you said arranged marriage. Did they know they were going to marry each other? People set people up on dates all the time. I mean, sometimes I meet someone out. Now you can meet somebody through social line if you're tweeting them or Instagram, DM them. Or a family friend could, you go somewhere. Like, I don't know if women probably know this too. You go somewhere with a friend, the friend thinks their other friend might be interested in you, so y'all go somewhere, and that friend knew this other person was going to be there. Is that an arranged marriage? No, that's just people setting up like-minded people. So what I'm saying is that it's possible that they just came across each other from being in the same circles and people thought they might get along. You saying it's an arranged marriage is basically saying her side, or Donald Trump, because Donald Trump introduced them, I believe, or got them set up. You're saying that her parents or Donald Trump knew that they were going to get them together and that they arranged for it to happen, as opposed to what I'm saying is just like in that circle, people just knew her, and they said, hey, we think this would be a good match. It could have went either way. I'm not saying what you said is definitely wrong. I'm just saying they say that she was a model. They say she was doing this, that, and the third. She's an entrepreneur. A person like that may come across Charlie Kirk, and she already knew Donald Trump. Charlie Kirk was helping Donald Trump in politics. I mean, there's just a lot of natural, organic ways they could have met. But peace, guys. Again, if you like this episode, smash the like, subscribe, share the video with some friends. We appreciate the comments. We would love to talk to you guys some more. Talk to you later. Blacks, Hispanics, and whites can't read. Why do you think I started a podcast? It's a fucking racist thing with you niggas, and that's why I'm coming at you niggas next. They love to talk about black violence. Have you heard of white violence? White people commit violent crime at 3 times the rate of Asians. When is Nick Fuentes going to talk about white violence? Everybody's arguing about their 2 genders. I sat next to her hermaphrodite in math class. Am I allowed to talk about the Jews? If she wanted, we could do it in the morning. Yawning, letting my eyes stretch, baby, I ain't a novice. I been a dog, she FaceTime, but